Hey, Wambone World Entertainment, and Todd Phillips is coming out now and speaking about basically the ending of Joker FOLIE and just how divisive it is and stuff. And he's basically trying to justify the reasons he did what he did. And he also has confirmed that yes, we did see the origin of another villain. Now, this will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, or if you're interested in seeing it, you probably don't want to hear this video. Otherwise, and judging by the box office and everything else, you probably don't care. So we shall jump into this. So, starting off, we have to go over this article that gets into this, that builds up the breaking down of Arthur by the end of the movie. And then we hear Todd Phillips discuss why he did what he did and what it was meant to mean. So, it says, during Joker FOLIE final act, Arthur Fleck decides to represent himself in court and, during a rousing speech, insults Arkham's guards. When he returns, they're not happy and proceed to beat him up, wash off his makeup, tear his suit to pieces, and then, presumably, grape him in the showers. Nothing is explicitly shown, and fans are currently divided on whether Arthur was simply beaten or accosted by those guards. Either way, we next see Arthur being dragged back to his cell where he lays broken in body and spirit, forced to listen to Brendan Gleeson's Jackie Sullivan murder his fellow inmate and fan, Ricky. It's seemingly because of this that Arthur decides to go to court the next day and admit there is no Joker, and only he is responsible for his actions. While it isn't made overly clear, the message seems to be that Arthur has realised even his persona isn't enough to beat the system, and he's better off just taking responsibility for who he is and what he's done. None of it really lands, hence the bad reviews, but there's chatter on social media about walkouts at this late point in the movie and a general disgust that Arthur is potentially graped by his captors. Talking to IGN, filmmaker Todd Phillips said, "The first film under the script always said an origin story, never said the origin story. It was this idea that maybe this isn't the Joker. Maybe this is the inspiration for the Joker. So, in essence, at the end of this movie, the thing you're being left with is, wait, what is that that's happening behind him? Is that the guy?" Describing Arthur's eventual death at the hands of a fellow inmate as beautiful, Phillips shared his take on why the madman eventually rejects Joker. So, before we jump down into that part, we're seeing there that this is where the real kind of FU to the fan base comes from, that because Arthur in the first movie sheds Arthur's skin basically and becomes Joker, he embraces the madness, he embraces the confidence. Todd Phillips is saying, well, no, that was never the case. That was the persona, that he still really Arthur, that he wasn't Joker. And he says this, what he realizes is basically you can't fight City Hall, meaning when you're Arthur, you're going to always lose and corruption will always win. Whether it's the corruption of the prison system, guards, the corruption of the judicial system, the corruption of the media, and the way they represent Arthur in that shot of Tom Snyder-esque interview in the beginning with the very brilliant Steve Coogan, the only way to win is to burn it all down in Arthur's head. Like just a little F it all. You know what I mean, because you just can't win when you're a person like Arthur. That is the other massive issue that people have with the movie, is what he's just said there is essentially telling everyone, just comply. Don't, your governments do this, your boss does that, everything leads around now to, you can't win, comply. And that is such a weird decision to make with a character like Joker. Regardless of him trying to justify now, say, oh, he was never actually Joker. That's BS. We know he was. We saw him become Joker. And that's where the issue is with that movie, is that it opens with Arthur being back to square one like he was in the first movie. Only this time he only semi becomes Joker in this movie, but then quickly sheds it away. And he's basically saying, well, you have to, because you're never going to win. The system is always going to win. That's a really weird course to take. And to try and justify what he did with the character by the end of the movie, like whatever happened to him with the guards, and that broke him to just admit, oh yeah, there is no Joker. No. The Joker should have been absolutely filled with confidence in the prison in the first place, and he wasn't. But this then brings us to another character who he says this was basically an origin for. And no, it wasn't the guy who murdered Arthur. That makes you go, wait, is he actually the Joker of the movie? It's Harvey Dent. Yes, Twoface. Now, as I said in the spoiler review, the explosion happened and you see bits of glass in his face, and he's confirming that yes, this was somewhat of an origin for Twoface. So he said, well, the bit of the article that builds up to what he says here says, in addition to the new take on Harley Quinn played by Lady Gaga, the sequel introduces young Gotham City District Attorney Harvey Dent, played by Harry Lottie, I think is how you say it, who leads the prosecution in Arthur Fleck's trial. When Joker's followers set off a bomb that blows the side of the courthouse apart towards the end of the movie, we catch a quick glimpse of Dent lying in the debris with blood and dust covering the left side of his face as Arthur makes his escape. A clear nod to the character's villainous persona from the comics. But was this actually supposed to serve as an origin story for the Batman foe who will come to be known as Twoface? And Phillips tells EW, yes, of course. We're trying to put a realistic answer to why certain things happen. Why does he have that face? The filmmaker goes on to note that the audience is meant to view the moment as Dent's metamorphosis into the character. He adds that Lottie's is playing the character before that character. He's the young DA. All we're doing is saying, let's use this lore as a foundation, but run it through a realistic lens, or at least a different lens than it's been run through in other things, to make it our own. That's a weird way to go with Dent. Because in the movie, when you see him, there's just a couple of little cuts on the left side of his face. He's not disfigured on the left side of his face like Twoface would be. They try and say, oh, we had to go more a realistic way of basically damaging his face. You mean acid being thrown in his face wouldn't be realistic? That's a really weird choice to do, and a very cheap way to just go, oh, see, he was Twoface. Because, like, you only see him lying there for about 2 seconds. It's literally Arthur looks up, you see him, there's still dust and smoke coming across, so he's not all that clear to see. And then the camera just pans away and looks to the outside. So, very cheap way of doing a Twoface origin. And why is he even doing an origin if he's done with DC? Which is funny. He's walked away now. It's so strange. And I just want to point out as well something that's very ironic. Since this movie came out, we didn't even get to Sunday. And James Gunn came out and said, hey, everyone, remember, our DCU has nothing to do with this movie. So he's throwing Joker FOLIE under the bus because it's getting trashed. It's failing. And he wanted to distance himself so much from that movie. And yet, this is the same guy who didn't just watch The Flash and say it was the best superhero movie he had ever seen, but he immediately went and hired its director, Andy Muschietti, to direct Batman Brave and the Bold. So he's jumped on board with the Flash people and what the Flash did, even though The actor in that was the main problem, being the fact that he has real life issues with all of that craziness that he did. But he's absolutely made sure to distance himself from the Joker too. It's quite telling. But anyway, with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.